Well, shall we get started? I don't know. Shall we wait a couple of minutes? Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm the lucky guy who gets the last talk. So usually it's half empty. Used to it. Happens. So we're here to talk today about how to fail your SRE adoption, particularly in the enterprise, because usually startups don't really fail. This deck is a deck that has been refurbished a little bit, and I had to fight hard to keep this joke, because the reviewer said you need to remove the jokes, and no, it's too funny. We need to leave it. Couple of words about myself. This is too far away. Okay, let's get closer. Okay, my name is Riccardo, and I'm a developer advocate for Google Cloud. I've been in Google 11 years as of 3 days ago. And I usually preach about SRE DevOps, how Google does development, culture, and stuff like that. So very happy to be here in Warsaw today, actually because my path started in Krakow 4 years ago. A customer was telling me, Riccardo, we started an SRE function a year ago, and then, we haven't talked in a while, but now, long story short, the team is disbanded. Half of them left the company, half of them moved to another role, and we had to redo it from scratch, and now we vendorized it. It was like, oh, I never saw an SRE function done by vendors, but good luck with that. And then I thought, maybe I should become a consultant and do that for a living, which is what I did and which brought me here. So that's kind of funny. It's kind of a sort of homecoming. And all of this talk is based on this little book written by my friends James Brookbank and Steve McGee. So if you need to go home and you have a train to catch, take this link, read this book, which has 2 great properties, and just ignore me. I won't get offended. This book has 2 big properties. One is a 50-page book. Second, the pages are very, very small. In my case, it took like 2 hours of reading. I actually contributed to it, but after it was already published, so probably you will see my comments and my commits in the next version. Anyway, it's an awesome book, and this book is based on all the learnings that we as Googlers have made by talking to customers who try to implement SRE, kind of failed, though something we didn't really work right, and though we learned how to do it wrong in a way. So, yeah, this talk will be like 40 minutes-ish. I'll try to keep it a bit shorter, so you can either ask questions or if you want to go home and go party, I'm not offended. So what is the evolution of SRE? Like when we released the book, it was 2015, so it was 8 years ago, and everybody was like, it looked like SRE was going to change the world. And then in the last couple of years, people moved more to, I don't know, platform engineering is more a sexy buzzword than SRE, I think. And I have a feeling there will be new movements in the future, right? So what is the evolution of SRE? I think it depends on the market, on how it goes. A friend of mine, James actually, he has a theory that I really like, which is back in 2015, in the subsequent years, like the market was really going well, so people were looking for something to do things better, and we were kind of like in an expansion phase. But after COVID, we got into this deflation phase where everybody's looking at cost cutting, and maybe platform engineering seems to be more in line with cost cutting rather than make cost. We are going to look at cost in a few slides down the road. So what is SRE? According to Ben Traynor, who was the first employee who was tasked by making sure that the Google.com website, from which site reliability engineer wouldn't go down, he was a software engineer, tasked to be an operator. Like, I'm not an operator, I'm a software engineer. Well, make sure the website doesn't go down. Can you? Say, okay, I can. And he built an ops team, and he designed it like if it was a software team. So it was like DevOps ante litteram, right? What SRE is not. Okay, sorry, there's a bit latency. What SRE is not? SREs are not sysadmins or desktop support. They're not like, have you tried to turn it off and on again? They're not changing your printer or your mouse. With all due respect for the people who do that, but that's just not an SRE job. SRE usually are the people making sure that your production system stays up, right? They don't own the application, because usually it's the software developers who are, at least in our terminology, but also they don't own reliability by themselves. Reliability is a concept that needs to be socialized and shared among different groups. first and foremost, I have customers say like, oh, we love SRE, we do ITIL, this is the reason of why we fail, this is what we want to do, this is bad, this is good, let's move to SRE. And usually this is a bit of a simplistic way of doing that, and in my opinion, it's going to fail if you do it that way, because usually if you do a TIL, probably you're doing 9 things right and 1 thing wrong. You don't want to change the 9 that you're doing right. You want to identify the one you're doing wrong and change that. So small iteration seems more interesting and smart, particularly in operations, than like revolutionize all the operations from one day to another. What can possibly go wrong? And let's do it on a Friday, right? So SRE takes a little bit of everything. Actually, we believe SRE and DevOps are like, if you Google DevOps versus SRE, you will find an interesting series on YouTube by one ex-colleague of mine and one colleague of mine, and it's pretty funny. We think SRE is just an implementation of DevOps. So these 2 circles should be very, very close, which is why I couldn't make the 2 circles one on the other, so I chose the same color. So a little, just to understand my audience, do you feel more on the legacy software side or on the cloud native app? Give me a raise of hand if you feel your company or your team is more on the dinosaur side. Okay, 17 people, okay. I pretended I counted, I just improvised. What about the cloud native people? Give me a raise of hand. Oh, really? Less? 1, 2, 3, oh wow, 7. Wow, okay. So the dinosaur wins. Okay, sorry to hear. Sorry to hear. So, and again, with all respect, because if you work for a dinosaur, it means you're still in the market after so many years. You have accrued maybe a lot of technical debt, but you're still there and you're still successful and making money. So respect to you. We talk to both kind of customers. These customers don't have many problems. It's just like Rails. The worst thing that can happen to this is you get acquired by somebody else, right? But here, usually you have a legacy software. Maybe you have a COBOL code base that, and the last COBOL developer left in 1995, and nobody wants to touch that. I have actually a customer in Switzerland who is like that. They're like, we don't want to touch it. We don't want to touch it. So I mean, Radek before me made a presentation, talked about the DORA report from 2023. And if you're not familiar, check dora.dev, our latest website. This is kind of like the divorce report that we've been doing since 2017 to 2023. We skipped 1 year because of COVID. And the idea of DORA is you have a number of capabilities, like how do you get, and a couple of outcomes, like the output. So this is where you make money, right? How do you make sure that you are successful by improving on these things? And we've been interviewing 40,000, if I remember correctly, people. And every person is a data point in this database. We do a little bit of data science and crunching, and we find a cross-correlation between successful outcomes from the capabilities, and we find a correlation between these and this. And interestingly enough, we found that reliability is one force multiplier. This is completely, it struck me as like, no, this is bullshit. You know, it cannot be true. It cannot be true that a team which wants to improve velocity takes reliability into account, because the way I see it is reliability slows you down, right? The reliability is the balance between, like, SRE is all the balance between reliability, which is you slow down, and knocking yourself out with new features and feature velocity. So if you need to balance between the two, how can reliability make you faster? But by interviewing our users, maybe because it's a matter of maturity, if you do reliability, usually you're mature. So this is like a statistical correlation, but this is the number that kind of strikes the eyes. So why do we want to have an SRE approach to reliability? This is the first and only question of the day. This is like a one question Kahoot. So how many of you think that you can build 4 nines services on top of 3 nines infrastructure? So let's go with a yes. Give me a raise of hand for the yes. Who thinks yes, it's possible? My wife does, I don't. So 1, 2, 2, okay. Who believes you cannot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. So 14 versus 2, it means that the no wins. Actually, I would say yes. Think of RAID. Like, I mean, how many times you have some cheap hardware and on top of that you can build awesome stuff? Or think of Kubernetes, which is derived from our little friend Borg. which is the infrastructure on which all of our production systems work. So just to persuade you, I mean, if you don't believe in unicorn, I have a slide to persuade you, and if I fail here, I'm sorry, I will. That's all I can do. Component reliability is how you do this is kind of the traditional way of doing it. You have a very beefy hardware, a very expensive, storage unit, CPU, network, fiber optics, everything is top-notch, super expensive. And then on top of it, you tend to get a bit lazy, like you said, I have such an amazing hardware, and then you build on top of that, and that erodes your reliability. At a certain point, you get to, 90% on top of this pyramid, right? But if you look in a scalable environment where you have distributed systems and you can scale kind of indefinitely horizontally, think of cloud computing, then your job as a software engineer is to make sure the software improves reliability. Like your machine is about to die, when it's choking to death, you have something that says, oh, let me remove the workload and move it to another machine. That's what Borg/Kubernetes do. And in that moment, your workload becomes kind of immune to a single hardware failure. So actually, by just adding, this costs more money, let's be honest. you have a cheaper single hardware, but then you add numbers, and you make your software kind of reliable by the way it works, by leaning on more things, by doing parallel rather than serial. And at that moment, you can actually improve reliability. And this is, as a colleague of mine said, help me understand this slide. So this is the result of commoditization of distributed systems. So today, distributed systems are a commodity. You can just buy it from a cloud vendor, right? So, implementation principle. How do we implement SRE, and what are the tips that we learn from our customers who do it wrong? First, start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to revolutionize your organization. Because it's so easy for a leader to say, we're doing it wrong. Let me, I will fire everybody, hire new people, do things differently. Well, probably that's not good for business, right? Start small. Okay, invest in people. So it's cheaper to retain your engineer than to get them pissed, to get them angry, to get them to leave the work and hire somebody else. It costs more money because you need to retrain them, right? So care about the people and make sure that your SREs are able to cover multiple functions. In Google, we have two kinds of SRE: the software engineer SRE and the operation SRE, sysadmin/architect. We get a mix of the two because we believe if you have 100% Swiss, it doesn't work. If you have 100% non-Swiss, it doesn't work. You need to have a mixed balance. So Ben thinks that 50-50 is the perfect number. Embrace risk. So create an environment where it's safe to fail. And safe to fail means that, yes, you will fail. You will fail. You will throw away a week of work by trying something out that didn't work. But then you learn something. Oh, let's talk about money. So what do you think? Do you think SRE is going to cost you more or less to your company? Anybody has a thought? It depends. That's an easy answer. But I agree. It depends. You stole my slides. You've seen them already. No, I'm just joking. Okay, yeah, that's exactly it. But don't tell anybody. Okay, it's just between me and you. So in our in the DevOps report 2018, we found that actually there was a J curve. It starts good, it gets worse, and it gets better. In 2022, we got this kind of N thing. But the idea is the same. The idea is that it starts good. And why does it do that? Because you say, I want to implement SRE. Okay, fantastic. You find some, low-hanging fruits, something that is easy to fix. You fix it, it gets better, and you go to your director and say, I'm amazing. SRE works for my company. Except that, apologies. Except that after doing those first round of low-hanging fruit, at a certain point you realize that there is a lot of technical debt that you have accrued. You need to fix that. You need to break that down, refactor the code, and that is going to cost you time that your users are not going to appreciate, your dev are not, you just need to do stuff that is invisible, like reducing the technical debt. This is going to cost you, and this is going to slow you down. And again, the technical debt increases the complexity, so more stuff, more layers, more people, more processing, more documentation. Who documented this? Nobody. Let me do it. Again, costly. At a certain point, though, we believe there is a point, and we notice with customers, there is a point where you enter in this kind of nirvana state, where actually you get into what we call the time where you automate yourself out of the job. That's one of our SRE motto. So that's the point where you say, okay, on Monday morning, I will just look at my tickets, and I will spend half a day doing tickets and half a day automating those tickets, and the things are healthy, and the tools are there, and all the infrastructure below you is working well, so you can actually afford to do that. Then you have time to actually automate it, and then it becomes a virtual cycle, because then the next ticket will be, by definition, lower in quantity, so you will have fewer tickets and more time to fix them, and then all of a sudden, maybe the next automation will take, instead of a week, a month or 3 months, but then that will eliminate the second class of tickets, and you can concentrate on the third, more rare kind of tickets, and that kind of creates this this kind of virtual circle, and that's where we like to be. So kind of like you go up, and that's, so in a nutshell, what we believe is SRE will give you an immediate advantage, a long time advantage, but on the middle term, it might have a negative impact. It might be expensive and it might look wrong. So what I say, like, hold strong and be patient. Platform engineering, anybody who consider themselves either a platform engineer or you have somebody in your company, would you like to hear something about it? 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, 8, fantastic. So first, SRE, 4 tips. If you don't do SRE and you want to do it tomorrow, fine, great, I love it, but don't do it on a window that is more than 2 years' time. Like, give yourself a very short a relatively short window, like to the short to the midterm. Think of it in milestones of 3 to 6 months. For example, in the next 6 months, I'm going to implement an SLO for my most important product. If it doesn't work, I'll say, Riccardo, you lied to me, I don't want to do SRE. If it does work, you keep it going. You do SLOs for other stuff as well. Maybe you refine your incident response. Maybe you start writing postmortems and doing the action items that are written here. Because writing the postmortem, everybody can do it. But fixing the action items that are part of the postmortem is the point where you actually don't have the recurrence of the incident, right? Otherwise, it's just the words. And use feedback loop to make this intentional. So start small and try to go into one direction and observe how it works, do it again and come back with the feedback and adjust if it doesn't work for you. This feedback loops should be like of the order of weeks, maximum 1 month, because you need to know if it's working or not. Cause-based alerting versus symptom-based. How many alerts are non-actionable in your company? Now, I was in the toilet yesterday, this is the Google office in Warsaw, and I was amazed by it. This is the most beautiful playbook I've seen this year. An operations playbook, and I love it because it tells you if condition, then action. How many times you get paid? How many of you get paged? Okay, how many of you get paged with a message that is completely unactionable? You're like, mute, because I cannot do anything about it. It's kind of like an FYI. Just FYI, CPU increase. But what can I do? Should I reboot the machine? Does the message say that? How many of you find it confusing when you get an alert that you don't know what to do about it? So our policy in Google is, if an alert doesn't have any actionable stuff, it should be a ticket. It shouldn't page you. Because you can drop your lunch and go there, but then you can only observe the dashboard and be sad. There's nothing you can do apart from it, right? If there was a sudo reboot, then yes. So you want to keep it actionable. So that's what the alerting you want. Platform engineers. So platform engineering is good. I was talking to a colleague. When do you want platform engineering? If you have a single dev team, probably you don't need it. But if you have 5, 10, 20 dev teams, maybe having a team that occupies of some shared service, shared process, shared whatever it is. It could be infra as code, it could be Kubernetes, you name it. Your company will have something that you want to refactor into a single team. Then you need a platform engineering team. What do you do with that? Well, let them build a platform on capabilities, and these capabilities, we add them over time. There are the 2 things I want to tell you, but for them I have a beautiful slide. So this is time, these are capabilities, and virtually this kind of panino or lasagna is because every capability is possibly added on top of the previous capabilities. So tips for you, and I have a feeling that somebody might have done it wrong. I am one of those. Start adding low-risk capabilities that give people confidence in adopting your platform, because this is not a given. I have a customer in Barcelona who was like, oh, Riccardo, we are building this amazing tooling. Look at this. Look at the dashboard. They're amazing. Yes, they are pretty amazing. So what's the problem? Nobody adopts them. Nobody wants to use us. I say, why not? But did you talk to them to explain that you were doing this for them, etc.? Like, no, not really. We just built it. I said, who gave you the requirements to build it? We just thought it would be cool. Well, that explains it. So the problem is that from the person who consumes your platform capabilities, they need to put some code. They need to kind of delegate responsibility to you. They do this import your lib, which I don't know what it does. I trust you that it does something good, but it might break my system. Before adopting you, it's all mine. Now that I adopt you, I need to trust that this part I give away makes me go faster and better. So the best way is to start very slow, buy them a pizza or a beer to get them to adopt it, and make sure that what you give them is easy peasy, leaning onto you without having many risks. Then, after you've done 1, 2, 3 easy peasy capability, you can do the OAuth refactoring or update from Python 2 to Python 3, or do those things that can possibly break stuff around, right? Then you can do that, because in the first few months, maybe people gave you some good feedback, told you, well, actually, this is great, but the UI is I cannot understand, or if this happened, this breaks. And then little things, you can make them better until the system is stable enough and people have confidence in you. The thing you want to avoid is to start immediately with a high value, the thing that will get you promoted, the thing that everybody loves, the thing that will make you famous all over the world. Yes, but then if it breaks, people will say, I'm not trying this again. And then you will live with a platform that nobody wants to. I see from your face somebody can relate to what I'm saying? No? Okay. So, lesson learned from platform engineering. Services are introduced to the platform as it makes sense. Don't rush it. Anti-pattern, pick the toughest things first, since it will fix all the problem. Don't do this. Don't do this, because you might get lucky, but if you get unlucky, you will be alone. That platform will be a platform in the desert that nobody will use. Okay, other random tips here and there. Sponsorship. Sponsorship is crucial. You want to adopt, Chief Reliability Officer is kind of funny, so probably I never heard of this before, so maybe we could just say your CTO or your COO or your CIO might want to say, oh, I believe in reliability, I believe in SRE, I sponsor that, as in like, I will be able to invest into it. Think of the CISO, like how many times the Chief Information Security Officer say, like, security is everyone's responsibility, and they don't want to impose security upon you. They want everybody to be on board. They want to maybe do little trainings here and there. Say, hey, have you considered this? You know, like they will create processes for you to adopt that, and to adopt it in a way that you don't hate them, right? And the same is reliability. Like it's everybody's responsibility. Sometimes it's just about getting people to talk about it, like I'm doing right now, right? We've seen that without sponsor, it doesn't work. As simple as that. This, if you're curious, Google does it in a very curious way, which is every SRE in Google, 3,000 people over 200,000 employees, all report to a single person. So the SREs are not intertwined with the dev team from a reporting perspective. But the dev team, here you have dev and product, they say, hey, I have this new Google Cloud shoe that I want to launch in the market. I need 7 SRE and I'm going to fund them. I give you $1 million a year to fund this 7, 10, 20, whatever it is, right? And that's how it works. So SRE says, okay, and the contract is, show me your documentation, show me that everything is in place, everything looks good. Good, okay, we accept, we do that. How do you nurture success? So, or let me start with culture. How many of you think that culture is important in DevOps environments? Like, how many of you think yes? Okay, that's a good number. How many of you think it's complete bullshit? I respect you. Please raise your hand. I totally respect you. No, okay. Usually I get like a 70 yes and 30 no. Maybe I should have done it the other way around, maybe. But And I respect both points of view, okay? I personally believe culture is an important aspect, particularly in operation. Devs can be assholes, but ops needs to be good team players. Otherwise, and it's better if everybody's a good team player, to be honest. I'm an ops guy, as you might imagine. So, according to this Westrom in 2004, he wrote an article about 3 types of organization. Pathological. Think of like a big leader that everybody follows, macho, you know, everybody wants to follow this person. Maybe even females, but I don't see them in this pathological. Usually females are more on the good side. Bureaucratic, think of public administrations, okay? Usually. Public administration, like where you have plenty of rules. I don't know if you watched the Asterix, the 7 fatigue of Asterix. That's it. Generative is, I don't really tell you what to do. I just give you a North Star, and I believe you're smart enough to do it. And these things correlate to I don't know, multiple dimension, cooperation, messengers, responsibility, bridging versus silos, failure, scapegoated and led to justice versus just inquiry, post-mortem, right? So, as you can see, this is the good part, this is the bad part, and this is like the medium part, right? And I would say SRE tends to be more successful if your company is around here, and tend to be very difficult to implement. I have customers who are here, big banks from Europe who are around here, where there is cities, oh, this wasn't my responsibility, oh, this is the outage. We cannot declare this outage, otherwise we will look stupid towards the other director. Like, oh, wow, that's very mature of you, good. So if you're here, it will be more difficult to implement SRE. That's a promise. It's doable, but let me give you an example. Big CTO joins from, of a Swiss bank, joins from a tech, I don't want to make names, so it joins from the tech environment. You say, okay, this is the moment where maybe we can help change the culture. We talk to the CTO. That's what you can do, right? A person changing a key role and you think, like, this might be the day where we can start doing the things right. So again, culture is important. A very simple flow of action is, if there is psychological safety, which is the basic need for your team, people feel okay to share things. I'm an operator, I just screwed up, I just triggered an incident because I had a chubby finger. Well, if that happens, and if I'm in the wrong kind of society, in the wrong culture, I will just say, I'm going home, I'm not feeling really well, and things are just breaking, and I ignore that, etc. Instead, if you feel okay, say like, folks, I just screwed up. Can somebody help me here? I just think I did a sudo reboot on the wrong machine, on the prod machine rather than on the test machine, and now the database is compromised. Can somebody help me? So that brings dependability, which means that people lean on each other because they trust each other, which brings structure and clarity. I know what my team is doing, which brings meaning. Okay, I like what I do because my team is important to me, and I know that my team is important to others because I know what my team is for, which brings impact, which is money to your company. So everybody's happy, even the CFO. Tooling, reliability and tooling. There are a lot of open source tools out there. Our suggestion is, if you can buy, don't build, or adopt open source technology and use them, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel all the time. Nobody implementing your own crypto is probably not a good idea. You just want to use OpenSSL or some other libraries or services on top of it, right? Again, if you're the best person in the world doing a certain thing, you should continue doing it. Otherwise, commoditize, buy, and move on. Conclusion. Now I have a couple of funny slides to ease up the conclusion. So, what do you think about, how many of you have a center of excellence in your company or your team? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, a few colleagues of mine picked a battle against this center of excellence. Why is that? I used to work for Dell in 2011, and I was the cloud, we were in the cloud team, 11 folks, we were awesome. And there were 3 folks who were in the center of excellence. It was beautiful. The hardware was amazing, the customer show, it was a marketing, beautiful facade, but they were the center of excellence. And everybody I walked there, do you know what I felt? If you're excellent, what am I? I'm swimming in the pond of mediocrity. If you're excellent, what am I? I'm definitely not excellent. So by saying that there is a center of excellence, you're basically saying that I am not excellent, that I'm bad. And that is a bad feeling, right? So how about we just change it to center of, hello, Center of enablement. It starts with an E. So if you have COE, you don't need to rebrand anything. But the whole word, you need to rebrand it. So if you do it the center of enablement, that looks more inclusive, right? It's like, the words are important, okay? Words are important. So if you call it center of excellence, it's like, it's a beautiful place to be in, but the doors are closed. Center of enablement seems like it's a beautiful place to be in, and everybody can just come in, okay? Or another way is community of practice, even more communitarian, even more inclusive, right? The idea is that everybody is interested. I lead a community of practice of DevOps. I just said, Google Calendar, who's interested? Yo, join. How to join? Join the Google group. Done. Zero effort. And then all the DevOps lovers in EMEA join my team meeting every second Tuesday. And that's beautiful. And then we exchange ideas, maybe coding example, etc. Another thing that is important is learning by doing versus ivory tower. What does this mean? I will tell you a negative story about where I come from. There were a bunch of people who were really expert on the field working with customers, knowing how to do stuff. And then a bunch of super senior people paid twice as much as us join the team, and they start telling everybody how to do Terraform. Does it relate to, does anybody in the job have something like that? You know how to do stuff, somebody get hired on a higher level and they tell you how to do things. And then you tell them, what was the last time that you touched Terraform? Because that manifest seems a bit old to me. Oh, it was 3 years ago, but I'm awesome, you see? Here is written that I'm awesome. So it happens sometimes that you have this kind of mismatch between experience and ability to change on the field, like the experience that you do day by day versus the people who direct you about how to do stuff. So try to avoid that. Make sure that those people talk to each other and those people don't just direct you, but actually they learn themselves. They do stuff. They get their hands dirty. I don't accept order except from a manager, of course, from some technical person who doesn't get their hands dirty just because they read an article somewhere. No, that's not enough. Another tip is training centers. Do we like training centers? Well, we prefer dojos than training centers. What do I mean? You have a newcomer in your company, you want them to learn a bunch of stuff. What do? You put them on a class with other, we call them Noogler, with other newcomers, and you teach them, and class and class and class. They learn a lot of stuff. Do they? Maybe. Our suggestion is maybe get them in class for a week, for a while, but make sure that most of the time they learn with someone else. Get them a mentor, a physical human being. They can ask a stupid question, because I mean, the initial question will probably be stupid, but that's fine because you need to learn. And sometimes the initial questions are really basic, but it's fine. That's what you need to ask. And at a certain point, you say, okay, now you try to do that operational thing that requires something. Oh, no, not that. No, not that. The other machine, that one there. And then you accompany like a parent to their kid until they get the maturity to actually walk by themselves, right? Until they get, this is the pager, next Saturday is on you. So again, what works? We said center of excellence, training centers, big bang, continuous improvement is better. We said all of this together, bottom up or grassroots, try to get the community, to nurture the community and grow it from below. So these are the last two slides. So I think, oh wow, I'm early, fantastic. So recipes for disaster. Rebranding, renaming your team will not do anything unless you change something about what you're doing. Separate toil and automation team. Make sure that your team, the team who build the automation, are the teams who are also taking like dirtying their hands by getting by putting their hands in stuff, like operating your stuff. If they are just looking at automating, they will probably not automate well if they are not the guys who are also doing the toil. Cost reduction, as I said, is not an immediate thing. Implement SRE when you're already, if you're doing 100% toil, when do you run the automation? On a weekend or on the evening? No, you need to make sure that you budget some time for people to do project work. In Google, it's like 50-50 in the worst case, or 60-40 in the 66-33 in the best case scenario. 66 project and 33 toil. So you shouldn't be doing more than a third of your time doing boring stuff. Ignore sponsorship, center of excellence, ivory tower. We discussed that. Now, how do you instead nurture success? Ben Traynor says sublinear scaling is the key. Make sure that your business is healthy. So that means that if you're if your system is growing 10x and you need to hire 10x the people to maintain the system, this is not sustainable. Otherwise, we would have, I don't know, 100 billion employees, which doesn't make sense. You need to make sure that when your service goes 10x in requests per second, you need just a couple of operators more, like additive in people when it's multiplicative on machine numbers, right? SRE changes, so make sure that you take quick feedback loops to understand what's changing and adapt your course of action, because SRE changes over time, things change over time. Don't work in a silo, this goes without saying, but you know it, you love DevOps. High reliability takes longer than you think. Don't aim at 5 nines immediately, start with 3, the next year 4, and for 5, let's see. Communities need water and sunlight to thrive. Give it water. If you are a decision maker, if you are a director or a CTO listening to me, budget for this. Get these people to do something. Give them budget for beers. Give them budget for a couple of hours free to just talk and discuss and socialize ideas. Like that's how Gmail was born. Just like somebody giving like 1 day a week to do stuff, and Gmail was born by that. Like, give them the ability to improvise, to try things, to break things. Give them some budget to play in the cloud. Maybe 60% will be failures, but some percentage of it will be something amazing. You will be thankful that you did that. And then again, compensate people. Give them money. Pay them adequately, which seems silly, but from what I see in the market, often is not true. SREs is an expensive function because it's a job that requires both operations and dev skills, and it's kind of a rare skill set. And if a person has them all, they need to be paid adequately. So that was all of it. This is me Dockerizing a pasta application. As you can see, spaghetti alla carbonara. If you want to give me some feedback there, very glad to. Just say it sucked or it was good. And that's all on my side. I'm very happy to get any questions from the audience. Thank you.